So if somebody hacked into your computer and shared the last 50 videos that you've watched with your friends, your family, your wife, your girlfriend, your coworkers, how would you feel? Would there be some explaining that needed to be done to be like, yo, I swear I'm not into trannies? I do today want to have a conversation about what happened when I quit, why I quit watching, and basically some things that honestly, like nobody told me about watching that I wish I had known sooner. And even if I had known, it doesn't mean that I would have stopped earlier. But really the catalyst for me stopping, there was a few things. Number one day I was looking at something and I thought to myself, oh my God, what if somebody saw that I was watching this video? And I know that I'm not alone in this, all right? Because of the way that it happens and the progression of watching, right? What happens? Think about it. It's a progression because you're constantly seeking and searching for that higher degree of stimulation, the dopamine, right? When you watch, that's what it's about. It's about release, but it's also about the release of dopamine. Dopamine is an incredibly powerful drug that we become addicted to. And I truly feel like the reason why we've become so obsessed with watching and porn is because of this release of dopamine. It's also a very different world now than it was even 5 years ago. The amount of access we have, the amount of weird, intense crap that we have at our disposal to look at, and the more the industries keep like raising the bar, and I'm thinking about just like that lady, like I forget her name, Bonnie Blue, that basically slept with like 1,000 dudes, right? If you haven't realized that we have become very desensitized to that whole world of sexuality and sex, you are living under an internet rock, honestly. But the reason why it's gotten so escalated and it's gotten so dangerous, in my opinion, is because of the way that it basically escalates. And what I'm talking about is when you first see something, right? It's like when you're young, you're like, boobies, right? Woo, you see boobies, you're like, yeah, boobies. And then like after a little bit, you're like, what else is there? You're like, boobies aren't doing it for me anymore. Then it's like you want the full thing. And then you start watching one-on-one action. And then you start watching other stuff. And then all of a sudden you're into MILFs. And then a MILF's friend shows up. And then it's 2-on-1. And then a MILF's friend's husband shows up. And then some tranny. And then a bunch of strap-ons. And all of a sudden you're sitting there watching some weird ass twisted shit thinking, how the hell did I get here? You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just the escalation of the addiction and of the dopamine. You're constantly seeking that bigger high. And what did it for you before, right, doesn't do it for you anymore. And you keep searching and seeking that intense pleasure and that dopamine release that you had when you first started, which is dangerous. And the more you chase, the more you keep going after this dopamine fix, the more dangerous and the more slippery the slope. And for me, it was probably about 6 years ago. I was looking and I wasn't somebody that considered myself to have a problem, not at all. I would look a few times a week and that was fine. It wasn't something that I was doing every single day. It wasn't something I was doing multiple times a day. It wasn't something that I felt like I had an unhealthy relationship with. But I realized one day, you know, this probably isn't amazing for my relationship either. And one of the things that I realized is that the amount of action that I was seeking or getting in my daily life wasn't as much as it used to be. And I really felt like I was sort of replacing it with watching, you know, the movies and doing that thing to my thing. And so it was really an eye-opening experience. Combine that with the fact that, once again, it's about that escalation. It's what used to do it for you isn't doing it anymore, and then you start going down like some of these different like rabbit holes. It's not like it was like that bad or that weird or anything like that, but it wasn't something that I was necessarily comfortable with. And even though like my wife and I, right, we have watched it together before in earlier days in our relationship, and it was something that basically added to our relationship. And it was fine, but we stopped doing that, and basically you fall into a routine, you fall into a rut. I've been with my wife for over 22 years. And so I realized though, you know, if I truly want the best relationship I can have, I need to invest the time and the energy that I am spending and invest it instead into my relationship. And so I decided, boom, cold turkey, I'm done. But what I had to do in order to really like stop thinking about it was I also had to remove some of the social media apps from my phone, because one of the other problems is even if you don't want to watch, right? And this is something that people don't tell you and that I wish I knew. Even if you don't watch, even if you're like, yo, I'm not going to the hub, I'm not going to wherever, you still have access to a lot of things that may trigger you on social media, right? You open your algorithm and your algorithm on Instagram or TikTok or whatever is gonna show you things that it thinks that you're gonna like. And being a whatever age dude that you are, you know, it's gonna show you these women that are dressed really scandalously, and you're gonna see a lot of stuff. And even though it's not necessarily like porn, it's still a dangerous road to go down, honestly, in my opinion. And it's not that it's like cheating, in my opinion. It's not like you look at this stuff and you're like cheating on your spouse or anything like that, but it's taking away from the intensity and the excitement of the person that you're actually with or supposed to be with. And the other reality is that I truly feel like the consumption of the movies is something that not only is going to damage your relationship with the person that you have, it also can have you acting out in real life, all right? And this is another huge problem, all right? It's actually, in my opinion, kind of like a gateway drug, right? You start looking, you start getting that dopamine, and it's fine for a while, but then you're like, well, maybe I want to go out. Maybe I'm going to flirt. Maybe I'm going to flirt a little bit more heavily. Maybe I go to Vegas, and maybe I'm just, you know what? Why don't I just see what's out there? It's this vicious cycle because you're constantly seeking that next intense high or that excitement. And so for me, when I stopped, I had to also stop basically my social media consumption. TikTok, Instagram, I needed to get rid of it because I didn't want to look. And now the algorithm has gotten to where it's going to show you people and things on Facebook. Like, it is designed. These algorithms are so incredibly detrimental and dangerous because they are designed to basically keep you on the site. And if you slow down, if it's showing you something and look, it's going to show you more and more and more. All right? You've got to break the cycle. You've got to break the habit of scrolling, and you've got to break basically the consumption of softcore and hardcore, honestly, because one feeds into the other. And I used to say, you know, I'm not saying we're here to debate the pros and cons of watching the movies. I am today. And I'm saying that it's not good. The OnlyFans culture also is really, really fucked up, in my opinion. Once again, it's about that next level of excitement and that next level of stimulation and dopamine release. And so for me, when I quit, a few amazing things happened. Number one, the guilt went away. I stopped basically feeling guilty about looking. The thing that happens, as you know, is that when you get excited or you think about going and looking, it's fun and it's exciting and you're looking and you're not thinking about the consequences. But then you finish and you're like, that kind of wasn't as great. And you're like, oh, kind of like whatever. That went away. Instead, I was able to focus on the intensity and the passion in my relationship. Something else that happened is I started to find sex more enjoyable. I started to get and have better like owls and harder erections and just better releases. Like, it was amazing because I wasn't basically taking care of my own business. I was getting it through the healthier means. And I'm not saying that releasing is bad at all. It's not. And I mentioned it before. It's healthy. It's also something that is biologically hardwired into us to want to do and to have to do, if I'm being completely honest. But the way that you facilitate or the way that you get to that point is the thing that I'm basically questioning and the thing that we're discussing today. Everything about my relationship in terms of sex life got better. We were having it more frequently. It was almost like 5 times a week as opposed to like once or twice. And it was initiated not only by me, but also by her, which was a big deal. And the thing that I've come to realize is that when you're not doing it, you've got a different energy. You've got a different aura. You're carrying yourself differently. And this is not something that biologically you can see or read or track or you're going to see in any study, but it's this confidence that comes along with you doing something difficult, challenging, and pushing down the urge of self-pleasure and releasing. And so it was amazing. Also, I started to just feel better about myself. Whenever you can abstain from something that might be an addiction or something that you don't want to do, whether or not it's eating cheeseburgers or pizza or drinking with your buddies or watching and taking care of business, it makes you feel great about yourself. All right, if you've ever struggled with alcohol, like I have, you know, it's kind of like something where it's like, oh, it's Thursday night and I didn't drink. Yes, like you feel good about yourself. And then it's like, it's Friday and I didn't go out and have like 7 beers, like damn, like you feel good about yourself. And so your confidence exponentially skyrockets, which is amazing. The other thing that happened, I started to make more money. Why? Because I was more focused, I was more driven, I was more motivated. The same thing happened when I quit drinking. All right, I talk about the fact that I quit drinking for 6 months, and this was one of the best decisions of my life, because from this point, I can directly tie my success to that point of stopping the self-destructive behavior. Not only was it destroying me internally, all right, physically, it was what it was doing for me emotionally. And the same thing, the same sort of pivotal moment in my life, I feel like happened when I stopped consuming porn. And it really truly is because of the trickle-down effect. It was self-esteem, it was confidence, it was motivation, it was relationship. It was all of these factors that started to scale and get better. Is it for you? I don't know. But I can tell you for a fact that if you are somebody that is feeling like you might need a little kick in the ass, a little boost of motivation, or you're just not happy or satisfied with where you are in life or your relationships, it's a good thing to possibly try, because I know the addiction, I know the destruction, I know the dopamine chasing that happens when you are watching. It is a vicious cycle, it is a slippery slope, and it is honestly something that once you stop, it's amazing how much clearer and beautiful life, relationships, and sex actually gets. And if you're somebody that at the beginning of this video, when I asked, all right, if people knew what you were looking, you were like, oh my God, it's not me, I promise. It's just this weird little thing that I like to, whatever, right? Think about it. If you're embarrassed, or you would have to explain something very not so kosher to the people that you love, your friends and family, maybe it's time to think about changing your way. Just wanted to share my perspective. I know that this might be a little bit embarrassing, but I feel like more people need to talk about this because it's important. It's not getting any easier. It's also not getting any better. But the thing you can control and change is you.